dreams have been shattered, when goals seem to die, when everywhere you look you find no reason more to try. Well, you can't give up. No, you can't give in. The minute you make up your mind, it's time to start again. Giving up is not an option. Giving in is not a goal. I've made up in my mind that today I'm in control. Now is the time to reclaim your mind, to channel your mission through the path of your vision. Now is the time to redeem your dreams, confront all your fears, and take back the years. Giving up is not an option. Giving in is not a goal. I've made up in my mind that today I'm in control. Now is the time to reclaim your mind, to channel your mission through the path of your vision. Now is the time to redeem your dreams, to confront all your fears, and take back the years. Giving up is not an option. Giving in is not a goal. I've made up in my mind that today I'm in control. I have made up in my mind that today I'm in control. I have made up in my mind that today I'm in control. Today I'm in control. Hello, my name is Jamila Woods-Jones. And today I want to talk to you about mind over mediocre. Imagine for a moment that you've just been directed to attend a meeting. It's not just any meeting. No, this meeting is a mandatory meeting with your mind. And you know what? Both aspects of your disposition are in attendance. The person that knows and the person that does. You've come to this meeting with the understanding that you've got to make some life-altering decisions regarding your purpose, your direction, and your ultimate goals in life. Whether or not you'll become a success or a failure will be determined in this meeting. And so you find yourself in a situation where you're being faced with these questions. You know that you should really be doing more with your life. You know that you should really be taking opportunities that are available to you, but you know that you'll need to change the company that you keep if you really want to maximize your potential. But you know there's still time, ample time, to realize your dreams. But the question is, but what? What is it going to take for you to get your butt out of the way? You see, I believe that the realization of your true potential comes through one of three pathways. It is either self-realized, other-realized, or unrealized. The self-realized pathway is the pathway that occurs. It's that thing that's inside of you, even almost from childhood. You know that this is the direction that you want to see your life go in. And so for all intents and purposes, you do everything in your power. You get the education, you get the training, you get everything you need to maximize those self-realized gifts. And then there's the other realized gifts. The other realized gifts occur when perhaps you have a chance encounter with someone who invites you to try something new, who sees something in you that perhaps you haven't seen in yourself. And you take heed to that advice and you try it and you recognize that you really do have this gift. You really do have this talent. You really do have this skill. And from that point, now you become the person that's doing everything in your power to maximize your potential. Last but not least is the unrealized gift. That's the worst at all. It's the one that you never have the opportunity to tap into. For whatever reason, you've come up with every excuse in the world for why you don't tap into who you really are, to what your true purpose is in life. The truth of the matter is this: you possess a treasure. Every single one of us possesses a treasure. We were born with special gifts and with special talents. There's a gift inside of you that the world needs to experience. And you know what? The truth is, you were created for such a time as this. Have you ever thought about it? You, my friend, are a designer's original. Let me tell you a little bit about my story. You see, not long ago, I went to visit a doctor. After receiving a diagnosis and determining that I needed to get a second opinion, I went to see a doctor who was recommended to me by some very dear friends. When I went to see this doctor, I knew that because this is the first time he's ever met me, there were going to be some things that he would need to know about me. As a matter of fact, he was going to ask a great deal about my background and about my history. And guess what? I know that because that's what happens when you visit a doctor. Well, this experience was like one I've never experienced before. I went into the doctor's office and I sat down on his examination table, and he's looking through his paperwork as he's preparing to test me to determine whether in fact he believes that I have the diagnosis that I received. But as he's talking to me, he starts reflecting on the paperwork that really talks not about my medical history, but about my goals and my life and what I'm doing with my life. He's looking at the paper and he's looking down and he says, I see here that you're a pastor. Yes. I see that you're a social justice advocate. Yes. Licensed social worker. Yes. By this time, I'm like, okay, sir, it's all on the paper. What's your point? He says, you're a domestic violence counselor. Yes. And you sing? Yes. He said, I know what your problem is. You're too busy. Well, sir, I already know that. I'm working on some things. We're just meeting. You haven't asked me what I'm working on, but I'm working on some things. He said, but you know what? I know what your problem is. I said, what is that, sir? He said, you're a pastor. Yes, sir. You teach about faith? Yes. Does your Bible talk about your gifts making room for you? Yes, it does, sir. What's your point? He's getting ready to see the unpastor side of me, and God knows I didn't want him to have to see that. What's your point? The man looked at me and said, you're a hypocrite. Excuse me? Did this man just call me a hypocrite? You don't know me like that. What? You're a hypocrite. And I looked at him like, what in the world makes you think you could say something like that to me? He said, you said you talk about faith. Yes. He said, you teach your people to step out on faith. Yes, sir. You teach them that their gifts make room for them. Yes. You teach them that faith without works is dead. Is that the faith tradition you believe? Yes, sir, it is. He said, then you're a hypocrite. He says, you're doing too much. He said, this is why you have this diagnosis, because you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. He said, and the truth of the matter is, if I tell you what you need to stop doing, you're not going to believe me. You're going to give me every reason in the world why that's not the thing that has to be chopped from your list. Well, I'm starting to think, what in the world is this man going to tell me I need to take off my list. I begin to believe that surely he's going to tell me I shouldn't be a pastor because he just told me I'm a hypocrite, right? He looks at me and says, you need to quit your full-time job. Here we go again. Mister, you don't know me. How are you going to make that decision for me? My full-time job is what pays the bills. You understand, sir? He said, I told you that the thing I told you that you're going to have to quit. You're not going to want to quit. He said, I'm looking here at all of the things that you told me that you've done, all of the things that you've accomplished. And the one thing is holding you back is this job. He said, you have gifts and your gifts need to make room for you. And if you're a woman of faith and you believe faith, then why not step out on faith and allow your gifts to make room for you? Stop looking for excuses. Step out. Take the risk. That's what I mean when I say you're a hypocrite. Wow. What was this man telling me? He was telling me that the truth of the matter is, with all that was inside of me, I had decided to just settle for what I had because what I had paid the bills. But I've come to tell you today, don't settle for mediocre. I learned a very powerful lesson in that doctor's office that day. I learned that if I wanted to reach my full potential, it was time for me to change the direction of my life. I learned that, and I've come to tell you today that you were not born to be average or to be middle. Find the power within you that refuses to allow your gifts, your power, and your potential to be blocked. Being average gets you nowhere. It's interesting to me. Have you ever thought about the fact that when you hear people talk about wanting to maintain the middle class, that it's not usually middle class people that are talking about maintaining the middle class? Has it ever occurred to you that because if they help you to stay in your position, that helps them to stay in theirs, which is much higher than yours, gives them much more power than you have? Don't settle for mediocre. Let's take a closer look at this. The mediocre mindset is comfortable maintaining the status quo. This mindset avoids confrontation and conflict. There's no real motivation to want to do more, to want more, want to be more. We have got to learn that it's more than just where we are and what we're doing in the moment. We've got to make up in our mind that the mediocre mindset just isn't good enough. Don't you recognize that being average only puts you closer to the bottom than it does to the top? Being middle class for most of us is about being in a position where we're only 1 or 2 paychecks from poverty. The doctor impressed upon me that when you come to the place that you're confident that your gifts will make room for you, your motivation for success will put you on a path that forces you to stop chasing the dollar and affords you the confidence that the dollar is about to start chasing you. Isn't that the mindset that you'd rather have? So the question that you have to ask yourself is, who are you going to compare yourself to? If you want to get to that place, then you've got to start hanging around people who are doing the things that you want to do, who've become the person that you'd like to become. It means changing your company. It means changing the way you think. It means changing the way that you do things. It means from now on, I don't compare myself to people like me. I compare myself to people who are much better than me, because I want to be a part of this great class, this class that truly identifies who I am. I want to be a member of that elite group. But what you have to come to recognize is that membership has its privileges. But guess what? It also has its obligations. And coming to learn that lesson may sometimes be very, very painful. But you've got to take the time to learn the lesson. You're going to make some mistakes. Things are not always going to go your way. You're going to win some and you're going to lose some. But don't stop fighting for what you believe. Don't stop fighting for that thing that's inside of you that you know is there. Don't stick your head in the sand. Make up in your mind, I'm going to be who I was called to be. Recognize that no matter what happens the day before, every new sunrise represents a new opportunity. You have to commit to the journey. Can I tell you something? You were never meant to set up residence in a place you're traveling through. Whether you're traveling through on good times or traveling through on bad times, you were never meant to set up residence. Through means that there's another side. And you have to make up in your mind that you're going to get there. The other thing that you have to recognize is that uphill battles are conquered one step at a time. You can't all do it all in one day. You can't have more expectations. You can't expect too much of yourself, but you have to expect to continue to make progress. You have to expect that you're going to do everything in your power to become who you were purposed to be. Now, the question you might have to ask yourself is who or what is influencing what goes on in your mind? In other words, what's in your head? What are you thinking about? How are you allowing yourself to be shaped by what it is you plan to become? Don't allow irrelevant or insignificant people to live rent-free in your head. Don't worry about people who have negative statements about what you're aspiring to become. Don't worry about people who failed, and because of their failures, they want you to believe that you can never succeed. Don't allow that to be your story. In other words, you need to think about what you've been thinking about. Joyce Meyer, a wonderful speaker, wrote a book called The Battlefield of the Mind. And she basically told us that the biggest wars we ever fight are the wars that we fight inside of our minds. We have to come to the place to think about what it is you've been thinking about. Sometimes you're going to find yourself faced with winding curves and dangerous roadways. The road is not going to always be easy. Sometimes you just need to slow down. But by all means, you've got to keep moving. You've got to keep understanding that you can do this. You've been equipped with everything that you need to get you to the place where you want to be. I tell people that when I went to the gym, I would go to the gym and I'm trying to get this beautiful body in shape. I know it's beautiful, but there's still some work to be done. And when I go to the gym, I don't go to the gym to go up to the counter and say to the person at the desk, I'm here to buy me a brand new beautiful body. No, I go there understanding that the brand new beautiful body that I'm looking for is already in me. I just have to work on some things so that I can maximize my potential. You have to understand that your road may not always be traditional. Sometimes you may have to create the roadway yourself. It's not going to look like your brothers or your sisters or your friends' roadway. Don't be discouraged by that. The truth of the matter is the road that you have to take may actually be the road less traveled. It may sometimes be beautiful, and guess what? Other times it simply will not. But what are you going to do? You have to make up in your mind that you're going to keep on your journey. You have to determine whether your travels are going to take you from the roadway to the runway. I heard a commercial played frequently some time ago, and I love the commercial. The commercial said this. It said a mile of roadway will only take you a mile, but a mile of runway can take you anywhere you want to be. You determine the mile that you're going to travel to get to the destination that you are purposed to meet. The question that you have to ask yourself is this: can I do it? Henry Ford answered it this way: whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. It's about what's going on in the mind and how you allow your mind to take you to that next place. In other words, you have to allow your mind to be surrounded by self-sustaining commitments. Your mind has to be surrounded by the fact that you believe that you can do what you were called to be. You have to have a mindset that you're willing to give what is necessary to get to the place where you'd like to be. You also have to be ready, willing, and prepared to learn some new lessons. And let me tell you something, you can't learn those lessons until you're prepared to listen. So let's talk about that. Your mind has to be equipped with a belief system. And belief is demonstrated through behavior. You can't say you believe something and then your actions dictate that you don't really believe what you say. When you believe something, your actions will speak a whole lot louder than your words. Not just belief, but you have to be willing to give. You have to understand that it's true. Where there's no investment, there's no return. You must be willing to give of your time, your talent, and your treasure to maximize your potential. And then you have to be willing to learn. You must embrace the fact that you can learn productive lessons from what you're taught, from what you experience, and from your mistakes. I tell people that you can't keep calling it a mistake if you repeatedly do it over and over and over again. You haven't learned anything. And so you have to understand the importance that learning is a priority. And finally, you have to be able to listen. You have to have a mindset that will allow you to listen to the advice and the wise counsel of those who have arrived at the destination to which you're aspiring. There are so many people out there, but it's going to take time. It's going to take a commitment, and it's going to take an investment. And then it's important to understand that you have to own your strengths and your weaknesses in order to improve upon both. Don't be ashamed of the fact that you're good at something. Don't let people discourage you when you're good at something and you want to take that to the next level. Own your strengths. Own your weaknesses. And I promise you, when you own them, you'll be in a place where you can actually improve both of them. And let me tell you something. Don't be afraid to adamantly confront your fears, and don't be afraid to remind those fears of the power that you possess within. There's an African proverb that Les Brown, one of the greatest motivational speakers I've ever heard, once said. He said, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do you no harm. The thing you don't want to do is to allow yourself to die as a bud when it's your season to bloom. Recognize the gift and the talent that's inside of you. Allow yourself to be motivated. Let me take this one a little bit closer. I want you to hear this. When you come to realize the true value or worth of something, you'll treat it like a prized possession. And when you treat it like a prized possession, others will also treat it like a prized possession. You won't tolerate people who will devalue your prized possession. Most important of all, you understand that that prized possession just happens to be you. And so, I've come to tell you today that you have to avoid the mediocre mindset at all costs. I believe that the mediocre mindset places us in a debilitating state. I'm going to come in a little closer to that too. It places us in a debilitating state, which according to the late Dr. Miles Monroe, one of the greatest leadership coaches I've ever known, is designed to bury us before we die. Did you hear what I said? It's designed to bury us before we die, to cause us to just be comfortable, be complacent, not want more, not do more. That's a mediocre mindset. I don't believe that's the mindset that you really want. If you dig down inside, I believe you'll believe that too. In other words, we have to ask ourselves this question: how does what goes into the mind affect what comes out through our behaviors? The truth of the matter is, before you make any decisions, before you move forward in any action, you process that in your mind. Some of us process a little too quick. Some of us process a little too late. But we have to process what's going on in our mind in the manner that we allow ourselves to think, how does this help me to get to my destination? How does it help me to reach my goal? How do I allow what goes on in my mind to refuse to allow me to suffer from a paralysis of potential? How do I shape what goes on in my mind so that no matter what happens, whether it's good or whether it's bad, it works together for my good? Because if it's negative, it's a lesson that I learned that teaches me what to do on the next occasion. If it's positive and I realize that it's working for me, then how do I build on that? The reality is, we've all got to come to the place where we're willing to make some changes. So the question that I have for you today is, can you spare some change? I was looking at a sign in a store and I thought it was so hilarious. It said, if you're afraid of change, just leave yours here. And that's the truth of the matter. If you're afraid of change, then you might as well go on, because you'll never become who you were called to be. The realization that you have a wonderful treasure, a wonderful gift, a wonderful opportunity inside of you has to be manifest in you. It has to be manifested in the mindset and in the decision. I can, I will. End of story. I've come to the place where I made up in my mind, I will never allow my mind to be trapped in the mediocre. I believe that there's a gift inside of you that the world is waiting for. And I'd love the opportunity to spend some more time with you, to help you to recognize that gift, to develop that gift, to strengthen that gift so that you can become the person that you were called to be. So that you'll never find yourself in a position where someone who doesn't even know you knows enough about you to recognize you're a hypocrite. What's it going to take to cause you to get to the place where you say, I can, I will? End of story. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share with you today. And for this opportunity, for taking the time to listen to me. I have a free gift. If we look a little bit closer, I have a free gift for your listening to me today. I'd like for you to visit our website, gltsllc.org, and follow the prompts for a promotion code to receive a downloadable MP3 version of my newest release, Giving Up Is Not an Option. I hope that you were encouraged. I wrote that song just for you, just for the time that we're sharing together today. And so if you'd like to receive that gift, please visit our website, gltsllc.org, and follow the prompts for the promotion code. And then there's more. I want to offer you an opportunity to have some time with me to participate in a 10-week automated 1-hour interactive course entitled Critical Tools for Unlocking Your Potential. That's the time that we can get together up front and in person and have a conversation and look at some of the barriers or some of the challenges that you're having, give you the encouragement that you need, and help you to recognize some of the things that have been holding you back. This offering has a $247 value. But guess what? If you sign up today, we'll give it to you for $210 if you make that $75 non-refundable down payment. There are payment options available. And guess what? It gets even better than that. If you pay in full today, you can have the course for $175. Again, I invite you to go to my website, www.gltsllc.org, to register and to pay online today. I look forward to working with you, to getting to know you better, and to help you to maximize your potential and to make up in your mind that you refuse to allow a mediocre mindset to control your mind. Thank you again for the time that we've had together. You have a great day.